Subscribe please. AEW Dynamite results. The 11th of February 2022, Samoa Joe vs Brian Cage. First match, 67-24-1, Darby Allin vs. 28, Jay Lethal W, Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh. Allin attacks Lethal before the bell rings. Lethal drives Allin back first into the ring apron. Lethal with a straight right hand. Lethal launches Allin over the timekeeper's table. Allin jumps on top of Lethal. Allin transitions into a ground and pound attack. Allin rolls Lethal back into the ring. Allin with a running crossbody block in the ropes. Allin sends Lethal ribs first into the steel barricade. Allin gets distracted by Singh. Lethal with forearm shivers. Lethal with a monkey flip into the steel ring steps. Lethal stomps on Allin's chest. Lethal puts Allin under the barricade. Lethal applies the figure 4 leg lock. Lethal stomps on Allin's back. Allin decks Lethal with a back elbow smash. Lethal blocks a boot from Allin. Lethal drops his knee on the back of Allin's left knee. Lethal with a released German suplex on the ring apron. Lethal dumps Allin face first on the ring stairs. Lethal rolls Allin back into the ring. Allin kicks out of multiple pinning predicaments. Lethal whips Allin across the ring. Lethal with a back body drop for a 2 count. Lethal repeatedly drives his knee into Allin's back. Lethal with a belly to back suplex. Lethal applies the abdominal stretch. Allin grabs the middle rope which forces the break. Allin is throwing haymakers at Lethal. Lethal hammers down on Allin's back. Allin fish hooks Lethal. Lethal goes for a belly to back suplex, but Allin lands back on his feet. Allin ducks a clothesline from Lethal. Allin with a springboard back elbow. Allin goes for a running coffin splash, but Lethal gets his knees up in the air. Lethal with a sit-out face buster. Lethal goes for Hail to the King, but Allin counters with the rolling crucifix for a 2 count. Allin with a leg sweep for a 2 count. Lethal goes for the lethal injection, but Allin counters with the sleeper hold. Lethal backs Allin into the turnbuckles. Allin with a flipping stunner. Lethal regroups on the outside. Singh shrugs off the suicide dive. The referee has ejected Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh from the ringside area. Cole Carter dressed as Sting attacks Allin with the baseball bat. Lethal connects with the lethal injection to pick up the victory. After the match, Jeff Jarrett delivers a vicious guitar shot to Allin. Winner, 21-8, Jay Lethal via pinfall. Second match, 89-12-1, Jon Moxley W, William Regal vs. 17-14, Lee Moriarty W, Stokely Hathaway and Ethan Page in a New World Championship Eliminator match. Ethan Page joins the commentary team for this match. Greco-Roman knuckle lock. Moriarty with a waist lock go behind. Moriarty applies the cravat. Moxley with a single leg takedown. Moxley applies a front face lock. Moriarty goes into the lateral press for a 1 count. Hamstring kick exchange. Moxley with a forearm smash. Moxley transitions into a corner mount. Moxley starts biting Moriarty's forehead. Moxley with a front chancery suplex for a 1 count. Moriarty backs Moxley into the ropes. Moriarty decks Moxley with a back elbow smash. Moriarty with forearm shivers. Moriarty with another hamstring kicks. Moriarty chops Moxley. Moriarty with a running uppercut. Moriarty sends Moxley to the corner. Moriarty with another running uppercut. Moxley reverses out of the Irish whip from Moriarty. Moxley with a corner clothesline. Moriarty sends Moxley shoulder first into the steel ring post. Moriarty drops Moxley with the hammerlock DDT. Moriarty dropkicks Moxley to the floor. Moriarty applies a hammerlock. Moriarty body slams Moxley on the floor. Moriarty uppercuts Moxley. Moriarty whips Moxley into the steel ring steps. Moriarty with an uppercut forearm. Moriarty is choking Moxley with his boot. Moriarty applies a wrist lock. Moriarty works on the left shoulder of Moxley. Moxley with forearm shivers. Moriarty denies the piledriver. Moxley goes for a sunset flip, but Moriarty lands back on his feet. Moriarty with the park for a 2 count. Moriarty goes for a vertical suplex, but Moxley lands back on his feet. Moxley with the X-Plex. Forearm exchange. Moxley with the Irish whip. Moriarty kicks Moxley in the face. Moriarty with a springboard clothesline. Moriarty with the bridging Northern Lights suplex for a 2 count. Moriarty transitions into a ground and pound attack. Moriarty talks smack to Moxley. Moriarty repeatedly stomps on Moxley's face. Second forearm exchange. Moxley delivers the King Kong lariat. Moxley repeatedly stomps on Moriarty's face. Moriarty denies the Death Rider. Moriarty hyperextends the left shoulder of Moxley with his legs. Moriarty applies a hammerlock. Moxley drops Moriarty with a cutter for a 2 count. Moxley tells Moriarty to bring it. Moriarty with forearm shivers. Palm strike exchange. Moxley blocks a boot from Moriarty. Moriarty with a knee lift. Backdrop driver exchange. Moxley with a side headlock takeover. Moxley applies the Kimura lock. Moxley transitions into the Kimura lock. Moriarty responds with the Border City stretch. Moriarty with forearm shivers across the back of Moxley's neck. Moriarty reapplies the Border City stretch. Moxley rolls Moriarty over for a 2 count. Moxley with hammer elbows. Moxley makes Moriarty tap out to the crossarm breaker. After the match, Page drops Moxley with the big boot. Winner, 90-12-1, Jon Moxley via submission. Third match, 52-22-1, Chris Jericho, C.W., The Jericho Appreciation Society vs. 41-26, Colt Cabana for their World Championship. Jericho extends his hand out for the Code of Honor. Cabana backs Jericho into the turnbuckles. Quick shoving contest. Cabana with clubbing blows to Jericho's back. Rockers punches. Cabana applies a side headlock. Jericho whips Cabana across the ring. Cabana drops Jericho with a shoulder tackle. Collar and elbow tie up. Cabana grabs a side headlock. Jericho whips Cabana across the ring. Cabana with another shoulder tackle. Cabana kicks Jericho in the gut. Cabana transitions into a ground and pound attack. Cabana with a toe kick. Jericho reverses out of the Irish whip from Cabana. Cabana kicks Jericho in the face. Cabana dives over Jericho. Cabana with the sunset flip for a 2 count. Cabana chops Jericho. Cabana is trying to clothesline Jericho over the top rope. Cabana with a straight right hand. Cabana whips Jericho across the ring. Jericho regroups on the outside. Cabana attacks Jericho from behind. Cabana with an elbow smash. Jericho unloads 2 knife-edge chops. Jericho with forearm shivers. Jericho rolls Cabana back into the ring. Jericho ascends to the top turnbuckle. Cabana with a palm strike. Cabana is throwing haymakers at Jericho. Jericho denies the Chicago skyline. Cabana deposits Jericho to the floor. Cabana punches Jericho. Cabana with the bionic elbow. Cabana slams Jericho's head on 2 turnbuckle pads. Daniel Garcia trips Jericho from the outside. Jericho with a springboard dropkick. Jericho gives Baltimore the middle finger salute. Jericho tosses Cabana back inside the ring. Jericho kicks Cabana in the face. Jericho toys around with Cabana. Cabana with 2 palm strikes. Cabana with 2 overhand chops. Jericho scores a forearm knockdown. Jericho with a belly-to-back suplex for a 1 count. Forearm exchange. Cabana dropkicks Jericho with a hip attack. Cabana with 2 double-handed chops. Cabana with a blistering chop. Jericho reverses out of the Irish whip from Cabana. Cabana rocks Jericho with a forearm smash. Cabana with a flying splash for a 2 count. Cabana gets perched on the top turnbuckle. Jericho punches Cabana in the back. Jericho puts Cabana on his shoulders. Cabana with the victory roll for a 2 count. Jericho with a double leg takedown. Cabana denies the walls of Jericho. Cabana with an inside cradle for a 2 count. Cabana ducks a clothesline from Jericho. Cabana unloads a flurry of right jabs. Cabana goes for the bionic elbow, but Jericho counters with a Greco-Roman eye poke. Cabana dodges the Judas effect. Cabana applies the Billy Goat's curse. Cabana connects with the Superman for a 2 count. Jake Hager runs interference. Cabana wipes out the Jazz with the Assai moonsault. Cabana with the flying asshole. Jericho plants Cabana with the code breaker to pick up the victory. After the match, the Jazz starts picking on Ian Riccoboni. Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli start sprawling with the Jazz on the stage. Winner, still World Champion, 53-22-1, Chris Jericho via pinfall. Fourth match, 72-27-2, Orange Cassidy, C.W., Best Friends vs. 68-37, Phoenix W., Alex Abrahams vs. 69-26, Luchasaurus W., Christian Cage in a triple threat match for the All Atlantic Championship. Christian Cage joins the commentary team for this match. Cassidy and Phoenix gangs up on Luchasaurus after the bell rings. Luchasaurus slaps Cassidy in the chest. Phoenix blocks the chokeslam. Phoenix slaps Luchasaurus in the chest. Phoenix with a spinning back kick. Luchasaurus uppercuts Phoenix. 2 super kicks from Cassidy and Phoenix. Cassidy and Phoenix drop kicks Luchasaurus to the floor. Lazy kicks. Cassidy reverses out of the Irish whip from Phoenix. Cassidy dodges the rebound hook kick. Cassidy ducks a clothesline from Phoenix. Phoenix goes for a hip toss, but Cassidy counters with a deep-armed drag. Phoenix kicks Cassidy in the face. Phoenix ducks a clothesline from Cassidy. Phoenix with a springboard side kick. Phoenix ducks another clothesline from Cassidy. Phoenix with a springboard arm drag. Cassidy avoids the double foot stomp. Cassidy drops Phoenix with the spinning DDT for a 2 count. Phoenix with the rolling crucifix for a 2 count. Double kip up. Luchasaurus gets back in the ring. Luchasaurus with a double shoulder tackle. Luchasaurus sends Phoenix shoulder first into the middle turnbuckle pad. Luchasaurus with a vertical toss. Luchasaurus with 3 running hip attacks. Phoenix sidesteps Luchasaurus into the turnbuckles. Luchasaurus with a double clothesline. Luchasaurus whips Cassidy into the turnbuckles. Luchasaurus is choking Cassidy with his boot. Luchasaurus with a sidewalk slam for a 2 count. Chop exchange. Luchasaurus uppercuts Phoenix for a 2 count. Luchasaurus starts choking Phoenix. Forearm exchange. Luchasaurus whips Phoenix into the turnbuckles. Luchasaurus uppercuts Cassidy. Luchasaurus toys around with Phoenix. Phoenix with 3 knife-edge chops. Luchasaurus launches Phoenix to the corner. Luchasaurus with another uppercut. Phoenix is displaying his fighting spirit. Luchasaurus kicks Phoenix in the face. Cassidy with a stun dog millionaire. Phoenix super kicks Luchasaurus. Phoenix with a springboard spinning back kick. Cassidy delivers the orange punch. Luchasaurus blocks the stereotypes. Luchasaurus sends Cassidy back first into the steel ring steps. Luchasaurus chokeslams Phoenix through the timekeeper's table. Cassidy attacks the midsection of Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus uppercuts Cassidy. Luchasaurus teep kicks Cassidy. This brawl towards the stage. Cassidy ducks a clothesline from Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus blocks the orange punch. Luchasaurus headbutts Cassidy. Jack Perry delivers multiple chair shots. Perry gets distracted by Cage. Perry puts Luchasaurus through a table with a running crossbody block. Pac rolls Cassidy back into the ring. Phoenix refuses to use the bell hammer. Roll-up exchange. Phoenix super kicks Cassidy. Phoenix goes for the roll-through cutter. but Cassidy counters with the orange punch to pick up the victory. After the match, Pac viciously attacks Cassidy. Pac grabs the bell hammer. Katsuhiro Shibata, Rocky Romero and best friends comes to the aid of Cassidy. Shibata will battle Cassidy this Friday on Rampage. Winner, still you All-Atlantic Champion, 73-27-2, Orange Cassidy via pinfall. Fifth match, 40-0, Jade Cargill, C.W., Layla Gray vs. 28, Marina Shafir W., Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose for the UTBS Championship. Collar and elbow tie up. Cargill backs Shafir into the turnbuckles. Cargill uppercuts Shafir. Cargill punches Shafir in the chest. Cargill repeatedly stomps on Shafir's chest. Rose and Guerrero are trying to distract Cargill. Cargill is choking Shafir with her boot. Cargill kicks Shafir in the face. Cargill byfaces Shafir. Shafir with a gut punch. Shafir slaps Cargill in the chest. Shafir with Muay Thai knee strikes. Cargill whips Shafir into the steel barricade. Cargill rolls Shafir back into the ring. Cargill walks towards Rose. Cargill avoids the referee's 10 count. Shafir ducks a clothesline from Cargill. Shafir brings Cargill down to the mat. Cargill denies the knee bar. Cargill nails Shafir with the pump kick. Cargill connects with the Jaded to pick up the victory. After the match, Rose attacks Kiera Hogan on the stage and runs away with Cargill's title. Winner, still UTBS champion, 41-0, Jade Cargill via pinfall. Lineup for this week's Rampage. Orange Cassidy, C, vs Katsuhiro Shibata for the All-Atlantic Championship. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter W, Rebel vs Madison Rain and Sky Blue. Mike Tyson will join the commentary team. Sixth match, 7-1, Samoa Joe, C, vs 43-12, Brian Cage W, Prince Nana for the World Television Championship. Collar and elbow tie up. Joe applies a side headlock. Cage whips Joe across the ring. Joe runs into Cage. Shoulder block exchange. Cage with 2 forearm smashes. Cage whips Joe across the ring. Joe ducks a clothesline from Cage. Joe with a running shoulder tackle. Cage with forearm shivers. Cage poses for the crowd. Joe chops Cage. Joe unloads a flurry of right jabs. Joe with a blistering chop. Cage answers with forearms. Joe chops Cage. Joe sends Cage to the corner. Joe with a running elbow smash. Joe with a spinning enziguri. Following a snapmare takeover, Joe back chops Cage. Joe blasts Cage with the park. Joe with a running elbow drop for a 1 count. Joe gets distracted by Nana. Cage drop kicks Joe. Cage transitions into a ground and pound attack. Cage repeatedly stomps on Joe's back. Cage with clubbing shoulder blocks. Cage with a knife edge chop. Cage uses the top rope to choke Joe. The referee admonishes Cage. Cage with clubbing mid kicks. Cage with a spinning back kick. Cage whips Joe across the ring. Cage clotheslines Joe. Joe fires back with more jabs. Cage kicks Joe in the gut. Cage sends Joe to the corner. Cage with a running uppercut. Cage with a step-up enziguri. Cage follows that with a German suplex. Cage with 2 running leg drops for a 1 count. Cage with clubbing crossfaces. Cage applies the camel clutch. Cage reverses out of the Irish whip from Joe. Joe kicks Cage in the face. Cage with a corner clothesline. Cage with a knee drop for a 1 count. Cage applies a rear chin lock. Joe with heavy body shots. Joe with a knife edge chop. Cage decks Joe with a back elbow smash. Cage lands the somersault plunger. Cage rolls Joe back into the ring. Joe with 3 right jabs. Cage with a spinning back kick. Cage runs into a chop from Joe. Joe with an inverted atomic drop. Joe with the big boot. Joe follows that with a running senton splash for a 2 count. Joe sends Cage to the corner. Joe power slams Cage for a 2 count. Joe goes for a power bomb, but Cage blocks it. Cage with a jumping knee strike. Cage super kicks Joe. Cage with a tiger feint kick. Cage with a twisting elbow drop for a 2 count. Joe hammers down on the back of Cage's neck. Cage drives his knee into the midsection of Joe. Cage with a pump handle facebuster for a 2 count. Joe dodges the discus lariat. Joe goes for the coquina clutch, but Cage counters with the Olympic slam. Cage delivers the discus lariat for a 2 count. Joe negates the F5. Joe makes Cage tap out to the coquina clutch. After the match, the Embassy gangs up on Joe. Wardlow storms into the ring to make the save. Powerhouse Hobbs plants Wardlow with the spine buster. Hobbs stands tall with the TNT title to close the show. Winner, still World Television Champion, 8-1, Samoa Joe via submission. Subscribe please.